Gracing our screens today, we have an excellent example of passion meets purpose. Realizing she was gifted in the kitchen, in 2016, Ashley Lawson launched her catering company and enrolled in culinary school, all while working a full-time job and raising two small children. Though her days were long and her nights seemed longer, in 2018, her love of cooking bloomed into a business that would have her stride right out of corporate doors and full-time into her dreams. After sending her customers on a flavor adventure, they have described her skills as inhuman and perfect. Welcome the owner of Just Like Mamos, Chef Ash.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you. That was a beautiful intro.
Oh, you're
Thank you
welcome.
so
You
much.
deserve it. You deserve it.
Thank you.
Yes. So I've heard that your company motto is bloom where you have been planted. Where does that come from and what's that
Yeah.
mean to you?
Actually, it was something that spoke volumes to me one day when I was actually listening to Joel Osteen,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the sermon of his, and the whole title of of his message was "Bloom Where You've Been Planted." And when I heard his sermon, it spoke specifically to me in my heart, because at that moment I was really at a really bad space in my life at the moment of trying to figure out who I was and what was my purpose in the world and what am I supposed to do. And I was just really just down on my luck. So hearing that message, it just instantly gave me the motivation that I needed to start figuring out who and what I was, what did I want to do in my life, where did I want to go. And, that's the message of my company, is to just figure out your life purpose, what you want to do with your life, and then also take that and inspire someone else.
Right.
Because we all can learn from each other. Everyone needs that encouragement and that motivation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you were on your journey for your purpose, is cooking something that was always a love of yours, or was this something new that had just come into your life?
Cooking was always from a baby. I loved food. I loved cooking. I was around a lot of women in my family who cooked. My great grandmother, Mamo, who I named my company after, she was a professional baker. She was a cook, and she had a lot of passion. And I picked up on that at a young age. And those were like one of my fondest memories, was being with her in the kitchen. So I've always had that passion in me.
Awesome. Awesome. So you named your company after your grandmother?
Yes, my
That's pretty
great
awesome.
grandmother.
Your great grandmother.
Mhm.
Okay. So that skill
Yeah.
comes down from
Mhm.
generations.
Correct.
That's
Yes.
pretty awesome. So I noticed that your mom does some cooking too. And through doing my research, I see that she painted either a similar picture or that exact logo. Is that
Correct. Correct. The logo was actually made from the painting, because of the whole message of bloom where you've been planted. She got inspired to draw and create that flower of blooming. And I thought it was very important to have that incorporated into the logo. Because, it gets people to ask questions like, what's the flower? What is that significant of? And, then, it's a good point to go ahead and tell the story, my story of what I went through and why I started the company.
right,
So,
right. That's awesome. I love that you have so many family ties in there. You have your great grandmother, and then your mom painted that logo. So there are a lot of people out there that they're
correct.
looking for their purpose. I know there was a time where I was looking for my purpose, and thank God I finally found mine. Initially, when I started to
Yes.
look for my purpose, I heard your purpose is the thing that you'll do for free. It's something that I used to hear all the
Correct.
time. Like you would do it for free, regardless of what, because it's just ingrained in you. So I ran from it at first. I'm like, no,
Mhm.
I got bills to pay.
Correct.
I don't have time to be doing things for free. But it just kept
Yeah.
knocking and knocking and knocking. What do you say to people who say, well, look, I've got bills to pay. I'm not looking for the thing that I would do for free. What would you say to those people who would rather put their purpose on hold
Yes.
so they could pay the bills?
Um, it's funny that that's a good question, because I come across a lot of people like that, and me myself, I went through it at first the same as you. It's a very scary thing to step into your purpose. I must say that it's very, very scary. What I suggest, and what I advise for people is to dig deep into your faith. Because if you have faith, then you have to know that you are covered, that God's got you, because he created you to live in this life and to do what you're sent on this earth to do. So by all means, there's gonna be hills, there's gonna be, alleys, and there's gonna be curveballs thrown at you. But at the end of the day, everything will work out in your favor. That is something that I stand by, and I truly witnessed personally, because I stepped out on faith when I finally decided to forget about my fear, and by doing so, he really covered me every step of the way, and I'm still here. So that's what I would suggest to people, to just hold on to your faith. You don't have to just go full throttle and just drop everything and be like, okay, I know I got bills, but I'm not, you can do it in increments and baby steps, and start to little by little if it's a business or whatever you're trying to do, start it little by little, practice, really own your craft of, whatever it is that you're trying to do. And then you can go out once you're prepared. But there's ways to do it, but just absolutely don't push it aside and say, you know what, I can't do this right now, because just know God's got you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You mentioned that there'd be hills and curveballs. When you launched your company, you were working a full-time job. Is that right?
Yeah,
You're
correct.
Working a full-time job. You launched your company. So you're cooking for people, you're catering. I think you were holding private cooking classes as well. And going
not
to,
at that moment.
not yet.
No, this came later. The cooking classes, I was actually in culinary school, catering somewhat on the weekends, working a full-time job, and then raising my children.
2 kids. And how old were your kids
Yeah.
when you launched your business and went to school?
Well, that was in 2016, so that was about 4 years ago. So my son was 11 and my daughter was 6.
Okay. So your son was almost able to help himself, but I'm a mom too. 11
Yeah.
is not, they're not really taking care of themselves. You still have to raise them. And then 6, of course, you're almost doing everything. So you did all these things at the same time because you had that inner drive. You felt like that cooking was your purpose, and you needed to do this for you, do this for God, do this for other people. But what would you say to people who would say, I just don't have the time? I don't have the time. I have children. I have a full-time job. I know what that feels like. How are you able to balance it, and how would you advise that they just go after it?
Well, as you mentioned, I'm gonna piggyback to what you stated. It was the drive. When you have that passion, because that's how you truly know that you're living in your purpose. The passion is what ignites you, and it's what keeps you going. So were there times that I broke down, and were there times that I was so exhausted? Yes, absolutely. There were times I just felt like, oh my gosh, how can I do this all? But my passion, a lot of prayer, and a lot of patience, and just staying organized. That was really what got me through, and having support. It's important. You don't have to have a whole team. I didn't have a bunch of people in my corner, but at least to have one person. My children, they really believed in me. And that helped me to push me to keep going, because I knew they were watching me and they were seeing the amount of work that I was putting into everything, and I couldn't let them down. So, if you have someone in your corner, it's the best thing you can do. But that passion is what's going to push you through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a firm believer that children will do what you do, not what you say. And through my own life, I try to show my son the way we should go. We come from humble beginnings. We're not rich by any stretch, but we're doing a lot better than we used to. And I want him to remember that journey, and you're showing your kids that journey as well. What would you say was the toughest time between when you launched your business and where you are today? What was the hardest time that you had, and how did you find your way out of that?
That's a good question. There were a lot of battles. I think, The toughest thing for me, just based on the type of person I am, would be honestly from not just starting the business and having certain people that, kind of didn't really believe in you the way that, you would have liked or hoped that people would. People that you have in your life, you kind of would just think everybody would just be backing you immediately. It doesn't happen that way. And I think that was one of the toughest things for me, because I'm the type where I'm happy for everyone. So in tune, I would want everybody to, be that same way with me. And that was a hard thing to deal with. And not only having to experience that starting the business, but now with the little, milestones that I've hit and the little successes and things that I've accomplished. With that being said, people around you start to change. And that was really hard for me to deal with. I had to reevaluate certain people that I wanted to have in my life, because, everybody doesn't stay. You can be on the same level with someone for a long time, but then when you are in your purpose and maybe other people aren't at that moment, you're not going to stay on the same page. And I had to learn to start changing, certain things, certain people around me, and just really start to just zone into who I am and what kind of life I want to live and what kind of people I wanted to have around me. So that was a hard learning lesson, I would say.
Yeah. Even going into adulthood, everybody changes from school age to young adulthood. Absolutely. To, more mature. And it is hard to let go of relationships that you had from a younger age. And it is surprising when those people that you've supported or you've just been friends with just kind of just don't care what you're doing. Even though you're passionate about it, you're like, hey, look, I found this thing. And they're just like, okay. Yeah. It can be very discouraging and even make you want to give up. I've had some experiences where, I was doing something that I felt very passionate about and I didn't get the support from certain people. And I had moments where I just put it down. I said, nah, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe they're right. It's a bad idea. But that inner drive, it keeps coming back. It keeps saying to you, just keep going, because maybe they're not on this part of the journey. Maybe they were at the beginning part, and maybe they'll come back, who knows, but maybe they're not. Speaking of things that were hard, I'm sure this was scary, but you'd have to tell me yourself, what was it like quitting your job and going into this full time?
Okay, so what I must say at first, I did not quit. Okay. Here's the thing. When you're going through what you are going through and you're trying to battle and overcome your fears, I think me and you we've had that conversation before where you're like, I want to go out, I want to be on my own, I want to have my own business, but I got stuff I still got to pay. I need this money, I need these things in order to do this. So it's like, you want to have faith, but then you're also still having that cushion of the job, that security. And in the back of my head, I was always like, you know what? I want to just work for myself. I don't want to work for anyone else. I don't like this anymore. And I kept saying it, but I wouldn't leave. I'm still like, okay, I'm going to do it. Maybe in a few months, maybe like next year, maybe when I'm a little bit better, once my business really starts to pick up, I always had an excuse. Those moments, you realize that if this is meant for you, you will be pushed into certain circumstances and situations. And that's what happened to me. I literally was let go of my job after being promoted 3 months before then. I was an account executive manager. I had 2 really huge accounts for the company. I was doing all of these amazing things. I was still not happy. I was actually more depressed. And God got me out of that situation. He said, okay, you're not going to quit. I'm going to force you out. And then you're going to see that you should just trust in me to begin with.
Wow.
And literally from there, I have not went back.
That is so crazy. That is crazy to me, how God works. I wear a ring. And I said, you know what? Don't talk about your jewelry, Keisha. I said that to myself earlier, but I do. I wear a ring on my middle finger, and it's Romans 8:28. All things work to the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So I've heard that scripture my whole life. but I never
Yeah.
really understood it. And when I finally
Mhm.
start going into it, it's all things, like all of them, the bad things, the times that
Yes.
you cried, the times you get let go of
Yeah.
your job, they work to your good. And you had this desire to leave your job, and you really wanted to go, and they let you go. Now that's
Yeah.
not fun, but hey, who
No,
cares? Because
it
now
wasn't.
you are fully walking in your purpose. And I could
Correct.
imagine that the day it happened, it might have been devastating. Or did you celebrate?
It
Which
was.
which one was it?
It was absolutely devastating. I mean, I think I was actually more in shock because I've never ever been let go from any job, and I've been working since I was 14. So that in itself took me by surprise. I couldn't at that moment. I was so blinded by, oh my God, freaking out, panicking. What am I gonna do? I have to do this, and I had plans to do this, and I couldn't see clearly. It took me a few days to really just sit and quiet and just think. And then I said, okay, I'm like, okay, God, I see what you're doing. Okay. And I had to actually laugh to myself, like, all right, you got me in this because I was avoiding the inevitable. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And you pushed me into it now. And I see now it's going to be okay. But initially, I was devastated. I cried and I cried and I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm like, but how am I going to pay this? Like, it was a battle. It was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the end, I did celebrate.
Okay. Okay. How long did it take for you to finally just take that deep breath and just keep going with your company?
Well, through that time, I never stopped. I maybe had just a day or so just to kind of recollect myself, but I did not stop because I was like, especially now is the time that I really need to own in to doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So it was still continuously me trying to just promote, trying to whatever I could do to grow my business. I never stopped. It just kind of pushed me further.
Right. That's pretty awesome. So what time of year was that? I know it was in 18, but was that summer? Was that end of the year?
It was it was in the beginning. It was actually in March. It was in
Oh
March,
wow.
so it's still in spring.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
and but God is good because right before I was let go from there, someone actually pushed me. I had got my first. I got hired as my first cooking teacher, my cooking class, being the teacher working with Target. So
Oh.
I got hired by a nonprofit organization literally right before I was let go of this job. So, I still had that, but it wasn't even, I didn't even connect the two. I was just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because, it was a part-time thing. And I'm like, but it was what I was supposed to do because I really started to enjoy teaching others how to cook.
Right. Didn't you
Yeah.
go, weren't you, didn't you go to Aruba that year as a private chef?
I went to Aruba right after I graduated. So that was in that was in 2018, 2018 spring. When I left my job, when I got let go of my job, that was of last year, March.
Gotcha. So
So that
last
was
year in
in March
March.
2019. Yeah,
Okay.
that was the year, that was the year or so later. But yeah, I went to Aruba right after culinary school.
That's amazing. So you spent a week in Aruba as
Yeah.
a private chef for a group of people, sand, a pool, just paradise. Doing what you
And it
love.
actually, mhm.
Good.
It actually wasn't just this. Where I went was a business retreat. So it was a business retreat for Black owned entrepreneurs, and it was led on by self-made Black millionaires. So I thought that was very important because not only am I just going for my first experience ever out of the country to cook for people, but I'm cooking for entrepreneurs, self-made millionaires, and people that have been where I'm trying to go, and that was an amazing experience in itself because I got to network and meet these people, cook for them, and just spend that time, a whole week, getting to know them. So it was a really, really great experience.
That is really cool. That is really cool. That you would be in that space and just soak all that up while doing what you love to do. But I'm super curious because I'm a mom of one and you are a mom of two. Where do you find the time between raising your children, running your business? Where do you find time for Ashley?
Mostly I don't sleep a lot. So I would say my me time is usually either really late at night before I go to bed, those quiet moments when my kids are sleeping, or early in the morning. I try now, I'm really big into, I pray every morning. I try to do some type of meditation. Those moments are like those are my me time moments. I try to always set that aside to just recollect, get my thoughts together, whatever I need to do. But yeah, I try to squeeze it in because it's very important, or else you will really lose it if you don't take that time for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I actually do the same thing. I'm an early riser, and I like waking up early because nobody else is up. It's just peaceful.
Yeah.
But I would say my most me time would probably be at night. I read, right before I go to bed and just chill out. And it is important because those days can be really jam-packed. And if you keep running, you'll burn yourself out. But that's a lesson most of us have to learn the hard way because I've been burned out a bunch of times. So I had to learn to just go sit down somewhere. Right. You have to learn to just go sit down somewhere and calm down. Right. Relax yourself.
Yeah.
But I've seen you sharing your story and sharing your journey on your YouTube channel, Blooming with Chef Ash.
Yes.
Chef Ashley Nicole. Yes. What was the motivator behind that? Why did you feel a need to do your podcast?
Honestly, I had a lot of people pushing me to do the YouTube. I thought about it, but I was like, maybe it was more still, even though I'm still guilty of facing fears. People think like once you overcome certain fears that you never go through having fears again. I still had a little fear of doing it. So it was the thought that crossed my mind, but I was like, I don't know, there's so many people out here doing YouTube, like, I don't know. And people kept mentioning to me, like, you should really go on there. You should really do it. And, I'm like, okay, this is not by accident. It's not a coincidence. It's not just one person. People keep mentioning it. I really need to just take that step and just do it. I don't care if only one person views it or likes it. If it touches someone, then my job is done. That's all I'm supposed to be here to do. So I finally just was like, you know what, let me do it.
Right. Because you have some of your cooking videos, but I noticed that you have the inspirational videos where you speak of purpose and overcoming fears.
Correct. So I figured, with my channel, I wanted to do both because I am both. I'm a cook. I'm a chef. I'm passionate about food, but I'm also here to inspire. That's, the whole motivation, mission statement of my company. So I thought it was very important for me to have those inspirational series where I've been getting a lot of great feedback from people. So I'm like, if it's not for everyone to watch the cooking, here, you can still be inspired in this way. Or, you can do both, but, you still have those options and it's there for you to see and hopefully get some type of inspiration from.
Yeah, I definitely have used that in my life, just watching motivational videos. There are times where you feel, or where I have felt, that I didn't have somebody I could look up to. Just small areas in my life, or maybe somebody I couldn't turn to and see, what did you do? What journey did you take? So I did it. I turned to YouTube and I would watch inspirational videos such as yours. What was your motivator behind motivating people? Why is it important for you to inspire people? Did you have someone that had inspired you at a time?
Absolutely. My mama, my great grandmother, she was a huge inspiration. She went through a whole lot during the very, very hard times back then where, racism, is still alive today, but she went through it really hard at that time. She was working very, very hard at what she did, and she still cooked with passion. She still wanted to show love to people. I saw that. And, you hear of that from other people that, she touched in their lives. It was important for me to do the same and to kind of Just share. When I first started sharing my story, I should say it wasn't even me noticing I was going to inspire anyone. It was just me saying, listen, this is what I went through. Trust me, you can get through it as well. But hearing people's feedback and just like, wow, you really inspired me. Oh, you're such motivation. At first it was like, really? Like me? Like, yeah, I'm not nowhere where I want to be. Like, I'm still starting out. Like, how can I inspire you? It was still kind of like weird to me. But the more it started to happen, the more I started to share. People are like, you should really continue to share yourself. Some people would be like, oh, wow, I'm surprised that you're so pretty much transparent with your life and things that you went through. I never was embarrassed or, scared to speak up to share, because I knew like I went through this for a reason. Seeing everyone's response, I'm like, okay, this is confirmation that this is going to be my way to inspire others. So that is what kind of pushed me through to just continue to tell and share with people.
Absolutely. It's super important to share, and I agree with you 100%. It's important to share with others so maybe they can see somebody they can relate to and say, you know what, maybe I can too. But I'll be honest with you, the part where we differ is I used to be ashamed of certain parts of my life, and I would not tell that story. Today I'm not, but when I was younger, I'll give you an example. When I first moved to Georgia, I was working as a deli clerk in a supermarket, Publix supermarket, and I was ashamed of it. I know now that there was no reason for me to be ashamed of being a deli clerk. I had a job, I was paying the bills, but I was, I was young, I had ego, things of that nature. And I would legit tell people that I was unemployed. If they asked me what I did for a living, I would say I don't work. Right.
Wow.
I would tell
them. No, that speaks volumes. Yeah. I mean, we all go through it. I've been there as well, but like you said, you learn, you grow, and you realize you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day.
There was nothing to be ashamed of. I had a job and my son was fed, but coming out of that mindset and growing and maturing, I realized that I should not and I cannot omit parts of my story, because then I would be omitting people who need to hear it in order for them to grow. So it's very admirable that you tell your story so freely so that other people can gain that insight from you. I know I needed it, yes, and I have known people who have inspired me. There were gaps where maybe I was just being more alone and then turned to YouTube, which definitely helped, just watching people like yourself speak of their journey. So just moving along, I want to know which one of your kids do you think want to start cooking? Did either one of them show interest?
Oh boy. Okay. So it's funny now, they're showing more interest in cooking as opposed to maybe a year or two ago when I would try to be like, come on kids, let's do this. They'll show like the initial like, oh, okay, I'll do it. And then I'm like, all right, I'll be right back. Okay, mom, let me know when it's done. And it kind of would just go off and do something else. They just wanted to eat. But now my son is taking more of an interest in cooking. Like he's asking me to teach him how to make certain things. And now my daughter is picking it up more. And I think it also helped with take my daughter with me to my cooking classes because I worked at a middle school. So she got to be around seeing me with the other children, and then she became more, okay, I want to help mommy more in the kitchen and stuff. So now they're getting more passionate about it, and they're both speaking about, when I get older and I take over the business, which I love to hear, and I'm like, okay, great. That's what any parent would love. I wouldn't force them into something they would not want to do, but the fact that they're actually interested in it really helps me, to be like, okay, this is great. I'm happy,
Yeah, it has to feel good to grow something that you can pass on to future generations. Just looking back on my life and, finally finding my purpose, I can see how every little thing led me to where I found my purpose. I'm aware that running a business is not easy. And it is not something that you can just guess at. It's not something that you were just born with. You have to learn how to run a business. What was that like for you? How did you figure out how to run a business?
Oh man, it was it is still to this day. I can't even say it was because I'm always still learning. I'm always still going through things. The one thing I could say is you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes. You're gonna, do things with some of the wrong people, unfortunately. You're gonna do a lot of great things and strides with great people. Everything was just a learning experience for me. And at the end of the day, I couldn't get down on myself for like making certain decisions, like, oh man, why did I do that? I should have did this. But I had to be like, okay, I had to learn somehow. I don't have this no, even you can read a many books and try to prepare yourself, but everybody's experience and everybody's journey is slightly different. So I just kind of had to grow with my business, honestly, because the more I was growing the business, the more I was growing personally and just maturing and just figuring out things and be like, okay, this is what I want my business to do. This is what I want to represent. Like, it was all a learning experience, honestly. But yeah, it's difficult. It's very, very difficult.
I can imagine. I've definitely put my hand into some things where I got into it and I was like, whoa, are you ready for this? But once you've said
It's
yes,
a lot.
it is. Once you've said yes, then you just got to buckle down, do your homework, and keep it moving. So
Mm-hmm.
right now, as far as I know, and you can correct me, so you're doing your catering services, you are a private chef,
Yeah.
and what are you involved in any other avenues of
I
business?
do catering. I do intimate catering for groups, and then I also teach cooking classes, one-on-one and group classes.
Awesome, awesome. So where do you plan on going from here? What's the goal?
I have so many, honestly.
That's
I would
okay.
love my ultimate. There's a lot of different things that I want to do. I'll tell you the main, like maybe three things that I'm trying to focus on. One, I would love to become a celebrity personal chef. That's something that, I love the personal chef jobs. To be with my clients, they're cooking and them smelling the food and getting to serve them and just having that firsthand experience and just growing, having that relationship with my clients. I love to do those type of services. So that, and then I also would love to have a little cooking school of my own where, I can have other chefs be there and have either, classes for children, group classes for adults where they could come and, have like a little date night and they can learn how to make, a little 3-course meal and things of that sort. But that's kind of those are the two things that I mentioned. Yeah. So the cooking school, doing the celebrity chef services. And then also I would love to have my own cooking show.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And actually before the whole coronavirus happened, that was something that was about to become in the works. Unfortunately, it's being held up now, so I'm not sure what's going to happen yet, but that's an ultimate goal of mine. I would love to do a cooking show.
Yeah. A cooking show sounds pretty cool. I used to watch them all the time. I'm nowhere near the chef that you are, but they are enjoyable to watch and to try out and to try
Yeah.
not to burn stuff. So I love that. I love that. And I love that you don't limit yourself. I love that you don't just put yourself in a box and say, well, I'm just going to be a private chef. Or, a lot of people try to open a
Yeah.
restaurant and, that's admirable as well. But not doing that is also
Yeah.
okay. Being a private chef, doing your cooking classes, I love things like that. Just influencing more and more people. So,
I love that you mentioned that because what I would advise anyone, whoever is watching, do not let other people's vision of you affect your own vision. You can definitely listen to what they have to say, but I had so many people try to tell me, no, you need to open up a restaurant. This is what you need to do. Like literally just verbatim. No, this is what you should be doing. No. That's not my goal. That's not my vision. That's not what I see myself. And it is hard because there were times I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to do this because, so and so is telling me I should go this route. Whatever your vision is for yourself, stay true to what you see for yourself, because God gave you that vision for a reason. Nobody else can see it, but that's okay, And when you get to where you're going, then they will see it and be like, oh, okay, that's why. They'll, even if they don't say it to you, they'll see it and they'll respect it because she or he, you stay true to your vision. So don't let anyone detour you, because that's going to happen a lot.
Absolutely. I absolutely lived that experience where, so God led me on a whole journey, of course, and I'm still on my journey because I'm still here. But there was a point where I quit that job that I told you about at the deli as a deli clerk because I hated it. I quit that job. And then, I was getting money as a self-employed, just buying and selling cars at one point. And I knew a guy in New York that was a manager at a car dealership. He told me to come to New York and learn the car business. And I was like, you're crazy. He had already been asking me for years to be in the car business. I'm like, you're crazy. Why would I ever join the car business? And he's like, we make great money. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, okay, but no thanks. I'm just going to stay here doing what I'm doing. So after I quit that job, I started running out of money very quickly. So I'm like, man, what should I do? So I started looking for jobs in the car business where I was. Once he suggested it and we really talked about it, I said, okay, let me see if I can find a job here. And I couldn't. So I'm in Georgia. He's in New York, a manager of a dealership. So I said, okay, I'm going to come up there for 6 months and I'm going to learn the car business and I'm going to leave. He said, cool, come on. Don't tell anybody that you're going to stay for 6 months. That's just between you and I. I said, fine, no problem. So I was going to go in January. This was in 2011 or 12. I was going to go the January of the next year, and I wound up leaving 3 weeks later, going to New York, and starting in the car business. It turned out that my living situation in New York did not pan out. I stayed for 2 months and went back to Georgia, broke. I still didn't have any money. I did well, but I was paying my bills in Georgia while living in New York. So when I got back to Georgia, I was still broke. I still didn't have any money. It wasn't until the April of 12. So that had to have been April of 13. So yeah, it was the end of 12. April of 13, I got a job in a car dealership. And, the rest is history. I did much better for myself, blah, blah, blah. But when I was leaving to go to New York, I was sitting at a table with a group of my friends and I was telling them, this is what I'm going to do. I'm so excited. And they're all like, what?
You're crazy, right?
Isn't your son in Georgia? Yeah, my mom said she'll watch him for 6 months. I had to change my life, and it did change my life for the better. But I had to just jump out the window. Everything fell into place the way it was supposed to. I'm like, it can't be working out this well for me not to do it. And one friend in particular said, that's a bad idea, and you should not do that. Why would you go to New York? There's no reason to go out there. You're not going to do well. Just stay here. I was like, I'm going.
Wow.
Right. So that goes.
I'm glad you didn't listen.
Me too. I'm glad I didn't listen because it did change my life for the better. But that goes back to your point where you were saying you are going to have naysayers and they will make you doubt yourself.
Yeah.
But when you feel it on the inside, when those things just make sense and it lines up perfectly, just go for it. Yes. Because while I did come back and I didn't have a bunch of money, I was able to pay my bills and sustain me until I found that job the following April. I commend you for going after your dreams and doing what you want to do, and not listening to the people that tell you to open a restaurant because that's their idea of what a chef is. This is your vision, and I'm super excited that you stuck to it. And I know that you said that this is your purpose. this is your purpose, your calling. What is a purpose, first of all, for the people who may not know?
Okay. So in my own words, a purpose is what you were placed, what you were born to do within at some point in your life. Whenever you figure it out, that is something that you're doing to touch the world in a different way, to make, touch someone's life, or whether it be to make a change or a difference within the world. It's a purpose is to doing the act of doing something that is going to make for the greater good, for, just make the world a better place in some type of way, shape, or form. That's what purpose means to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And so now you found your calling in cooking and in Just Like Mamos.
Mm-hmm.
What's your why behind that? What pushes you to continue doing this?
What pushes me, not only, I should say, my children push me, but sharing, things that I've mentioned, sharing my story, inspiring others. When I started to see the impact that it would have on other people, to push them to finally start living in their own dreams and, trying to accomplish the things that they've been thinking about wanting to accomplish for a long time, but they just always felt like, oh, it's not the right time, or I don't have the money, or I'm just scared. By pushing them, by doing what I'm doing, that was confirmation for me to keep wanting to live within my purpose, because I know, like, okay, wow, this is what I was here for. Like, it makes you feel so good when you are living in your purpose, because you see the impact that you can have on someone. And that in itself for me was so fulfilling. And no amount of money in the world is worth that feeling. I want to continue to feel that. That's what keeps me to live within my purpose. And then also, you feel rich, you feel good, you feel happy. Like, it's just the greatest feeling to me when you become, one with yourself and know what you're trying to do in life. Like, it's an amazing feeling. And I just, like, once you experience that, you don't want to go back. You want to keep going. It just keeps you to give you, that's my why. That is why I do what I do, because it's just like, wow, I want to continue to feel this great. I want to do more. If I already accomplished these things and I already touched these people, wow, could you imagine if I continue? What more can I do? That's always in my mind. Like, how much greater of an impact can I have on more people? I just manifest that on a daily basis of, I want to inspire millions, not a couple of hundred people, not, 1,000 people. I think big, and it's like, I want to inspire millions of people. I want everybody to feel as great as me, and I want everybody to inspire someone else, especially us people of color.
Yes. Yes, I agree with you 100%. Listening to you talk about the way you feel about your purpose is the way I feel about mine too. And I feel like describing the emotion that you have toward your purpose is like trying to tell somebody why you love your kids. It is just so,
Yeah.
it just comes over you. And if you don't have children, then whoever you love the most, whether that's your spouse or your mom or your dad, it is this feeling that just encompasses you, and you just know this is it. This is it. There is nothing else.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited that you found that. I'm so excited. Is
Thank
there
you. And I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited for me too. It's an awesome feeling. So I can definitely agree with you on that 100%.
Yeah.
Is there a quote? I know you said bloom where you have been planted, but is there another quote that you live by, or is that your main one?
This is something, like, it's completely old school, but I used to hear this quote from, like, my grandmother and her friends all the time, and it kind of is something that was been embedded in me. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I believe it goes, good, better, best. Never let it rest until the good gets better, and the better is your very best. And I love that quote.
That's awesome. I have heard it. I've heard a variation of it, but it has the same exact meaning. I actually taught it to my son, so that's pretty awesome. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Where can people find you on social media?
Oh, well, I have just like Mamos, all one word, on Instagram. And then also you can find me on YouTube at Blooming with Chef Ash. Those are my two major points at this point, but I am working on getting a website together. So if you follow me on Instagram or social media, then you can keep a lookout for that.
Awesome. And you're based in New York? Any particular borough?
I'm in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, awesome. And people can do pickups, correct?
They can do pickups. You can order, well, right now we're in the middle of pandemic, but usually if all of this wasn't going on, you can, also offer chef services where I can come to your home and cook, or teach you, have a one-on-one cooking lesson, intimate catering, anything of that sort. We can go ahead and work that out. So
that's awesome. Ashley, I am so proud to know you. I am proud of what you're doing. I can't wait to see the rest of your journey. I'm here for it. I know that food is delicious and it is gorgeous. If anybody has not had it yet, please, please hit Chef Ash up on Instagram, Facebook, watch her YouTube, get some of that food.
Yeah.
Ashley, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our talk and conversation, and I wish you the very best in your journey. I'm definitely rooting for you, and I can't wait to see what you do as well.
Thank you, Ashley. You have a blessed day.
You too. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and tune in next week to Tied Together.